All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens in today's video, and I'll just tell you now, Lamar Jackson's obviously the MVP. I mean, what he's doing is insane. We could sit here and we could talk for like literally over 2 hours on the air and just rattle off Lamar Jackson's statistics from this season and why he should be the MVP. But if you're a Ravens fan watching this video right now, there's a clear difference between this year's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens team and last year Lamar on the Ravens team. Right? It's just on a completely different level. I don't care what the record says. This is probably the scariest 11-5 team of all time. They are third in scoring, putting up 30.2 points per game. They're 5-2 against current AFC playoff field teams if the season were to end theoretically right now. And their point margin in those games is plus 100. This team shows up. And I find it crazy and funny when people try and tell me that Baltimore is just not going to do well because Lamar Jackson sucks in the playoffs. Folks, I just don't think any of those people who have said comments like that have watched a Baltimore Raven playoff game with Lamar Jackson as the QB. If anything, the coaching staff in previous regimes has not given him really ample, I would say opportunity, but that's just the wrong word. I don't think they've really maximized the Baltimore Ravens and, what Lamar can do, I mean, it's a very small list, what he can't do. But my point just is, they ran the ball like 6 times last year in the AFC Championship game. I mean, I believe Kansas City had the football in that for like 42 minutes. And it was still only a 17-10 game. And the problem was definitely not Lamar Jackson. But folks, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens, I think for the second time ever on this channel. But before we do, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you guys want more Ravens videos, let me know down below. If we could try and get this one to 100 likes, folks, that would mean the absolute world to me. Like I said, this is my second ever Ravens video. I think I did like a Brandon Cooks trade rumor in like the 2022 summer. Keep in mind, this is sponsored by BetUS. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. Now, I'm an NFC guy, right? I'm a Green Bay Packers diehard fan. I don't care if Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs win another Super Bowl unless they're taking down my Green Bay Packers. I don't care if Lamar Jackson is better than Patrick Mahomes or this makes no sense right now, but here's why Buffalo is better than Baltimore, right? Here's why Baltimore is better than Buffalo. Here's why Baltimore can beat the Kansas City Chiefs this season. Here's why Kansas City's going to smack Lamar Jackson, the MVP, and the Baltimore Ravens. That stuff doesn't really interest me as far as like, oh, here's why I'm right, here's why you're wrong. As a NFC dude who's watched plenty of teams get whooped by Lamar, when I watch Lamar Jackson play football this season, he's clearly the MVP. And I like Josh Allen. I don't know who number 3 is. I think it's Sam Darnold. I love Sam Darnold. It's not even close. I mean, it's not even close. Lamar Jackson's 2024 season has just truly been insane. He's up to 4,807 total yards. He's got 43 total touchdowns. 39 of those are with his arm. He's only got 4 interceptions. And I think somebody on it's like Wake Up Football or something. His name's like Peter Schrager or something like that. He did like a skit on Good Morning Football or whatever the TV show I'm thinking about is. And they went back and looked at Lamar's 4 interceptions. And it's just, you hear this from Ravens fans a lot. And I always just kind of shrug it off because I don't really care about interceptions. I don't think they're, really that much of a quarterback stat. Like it's not the end all be all. Like, all right, guys, before we get back into this video here, we're hyping up the Baltimore Ravens saying this could be the season. Shout out to BetUS, our sponsor for this video. So we're over here on their website, and I just wanted to let you know that the Baltimore Ravens to win the 2025 NFL Super Bowl, according to BetUS, is plus 650. If you're feeling inclined, folks, it doesn't end just there. They're offering 150% bonus on your first deposit and 125% bonus on your next 2, all with the code YouTube150. Let's get back to the video. Lamar Jackson's got 39 passing touchdowns on 4 picks. Right? Like that's phenomenal. I don't need to dive into those 4 interceptions and see where he can improve. I don't think Lamar Jackson needs to improve on like mechanics and that type of stuff. But my point just is, it really is insane when I hear a Ravens fan saying none of these 4 picks are even on Lamar. And then you watch the 4 picks and you're like, oh, they're right. Like Lamar Jackson could easily have 39 passing touchdowns and 0 picks on the season. For quarterbacks starting at least 10 games, Lamar Jackson season long at 121.6 pass rating is second to only Aaron Rodgers, my GOAT's 2011 season. He's on pace to become the first quarterback in league history to pass for 4,000 yards and rush for 800 in the same season. He literally needs 40 passing yards to hit 4,000. He also leads the league with an average of 8.9 yards per pass attempt and 121.6 passer rating. Derrick Henry's been a big reason for it. He leads the league with 5.8 yards per carry, which is definitely his highest in his NFL career, his very long NFL career. He's got 305 carries on the season for 1,783 yards and 14 touchdowns. And he definitely takes this team to the next level. Lamar is playing better than Lamar of last year, right? Which everyone was saying, this is the year they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I listened to a segment on The Herd, and then I listened to somebody reacting to that segment on The Herd where I think Colin Cowherd, what's that word? Analogied. That's not a word, but he used an analogy saying this is like the Boston Celtics of last year where, Lamar Jackson's Jason Tatum and, he always has to do everything and he has to do so much. And now they have a Jaylen Brown, AKA Derrick Henry. And then I watched some guy react to that and say, he actually, funny enough, laughed him off, which I completely disagree. I actually think that's a pretty decent analogy. What this team reminds me more of, not necessarily in Jason Tatum versus Lamar or Derrick Henry and Jason or Jaylen Brown. I'm not talking that. What this team actually reminds me of, if I were to use an NBA example, would be the 2022 Denver Nuggets, where they won a national championship. And actually, I think that was the Warriors year. Am I talking 2023? No. Yeah. Sorry. When you get a little bit older, I say that I'm not 25, you lose track. The Denver Nuggets won the championship 2 years ago. That's my point. And this team reminds me a lot in that facet, in the sense of that whole, Nikola Jokic, the wide receiver for the Denver Nuggets, the center for the Denver Nuggets has been the best dude in basketball for a very long time. Or he's at least been a top 3 undisputed top 5 dude in the NBA for that long, a very long time. But the big thing with the Denver Nuggets is, in that year, 2 years ago, was, they're such a good team and he's such a good player. I use Lamar Jackson as that example, but they can never get it done in the playoffs, right? They find a way to lose. They don't advance to the conference championship, or even if they do, they just find a way to lose. It's a really good team on paper, but once they get to the playoffs, they crumble. And I think the best representation to a basketball analogy would be that Nuggets team and this year's Baltimore Ravens. And the reason I'm saying all this is because I used to cover the NBA every single day. I did a daily live NBA show with my buddy Ciro every day, every weekday for 3 years, right? And that whole season, I was always telling myself and on the podcast, I was always saying that it's cool. It would be a cool story. We say this every year, but it's not happening. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, once the playoffs come, they don't win the series and they just don't get it there. And then what happened? A couple of months later, they won the NBA championship. They won the finals. Nikola Jokic won, finals MVP and cemented himself as one of the NBA's greatest players of all time. And he's still, young in a certain sense. But my point just is, that's kind of what reminds me of the Baltimore Ravens, where, in my head, who's better, Baltimore or Kansas City? I'm going to go Baltimore, right? But if I had a gun to my head, not to be dire, who's winning, Baltimore versus Kansas City in the AFC Championship? Well, I'm not going to bring up refs or all that BS type of stuff, but I'm just saying, history would tell you Kansas City versus Baltimore in the playoffs Kansas City is going to win it. But things change. Right? And things change very rapidly. So I'm just saying this does kind of feel like the year Kansas City loses. And if they do lose, it kind of feels also like the Baltimore Ravens are going to be the team that takes them down. Now, folks, that's it for tonight. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you guys want more Ravens videos, let me know down below. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video, and give me a game prediction for Week 18 against the Cleveland Browns down below. Peace.